Hello, beautiful vegans. I'm Mariquita Solis, your vegan empowerment coach. I help vegans who are struggling in anger, depression, and sadness move into peace, power, and effective activism. I work one on one with vegans in a coaching program, and I also work with group coaching programs, which is very exciting because vegans need support and they need to be united in this mission to help humanity, to help the earth, to help the animals. So I'm excited that you're joining today. Please give StreamYard permission to use your name, and we welcome any questions, comments. Please tell us where you're watching from. So I'm so excited to welcome my good friend Nancy Arenas. She is a weDIDit.Health founding ambassador. She became vegan in 2014 for the animals, and she's coming in from Albuquerque, New Mexico, which I love Albuquerque. I used to live there, so I feel like we have a connection. Albuquerque is my second home. Um, anyway, Nancy set her goal of creating a more passionate, animal friendly, and healthy world by advocating for veganism and as an amends to the animals. Nancy founded the Red and Green Vegfest Albuquerque, the first event of its kind in New Mexico. On August 2022, the seventh annual Red and Green Veg Fest Albuquerque Shine On will take place at the JCC of Albuquerque. Nancy is also the exercise guide at Dancing with the Bars, a class focusing on fitness and serenity. She's a non denominational minister and will be the officiant for the upcoming Albuquerque NARD event in June 2022. Nancy is also an internationally published children's book author whose many titles include What Does Vegan Mean? Wyatt, the Vegan Pirate, and Vegan Activist Paper Dolls. Nancy is the publisher and editor of two magazines, New Mexico Vegan and 1-2 Vegan Youth. Nancy can't wait to return to her Cooking with Compassion classes at Natural Grocers, which helped individuals step into veganism, and we really need that. Her mini podcast, The Vegan Pulse, which I've been honored to be a guest on, shares voices from all over the world about individuals' journeys into veganism and their current goals and aspirations. Sprouting Compassion is her 501k 3C nonprofit organization to engage the community. So, welcome, Nancy. I'm honored for you to be here with us today. You are a powerful vegan, and you've only been doing this 8 years. Is that right?
That is completely right. and as you were talking about my intro, so we returned in person for the Red and Green Veg Fest. It happened in August at the Jewish Community Center, and we had great turnout, especially of people who were interested in changing their diet. So that was awesome. And that was great. And I have started going back to Natural Grocers, and we just did our December class this past weekend at Natural Grocers Cooking with Compassion. And even we had visitors from Spain. So it was, I mean, they didn't come to see me from Spain, but they were here, they heard about it, and they were in the audience. So it was great to have feedback from them about the class and the offerings that I did on Sunday.
That's amazing. And so you're a reverend, and um, is that right?
A
Reverend, is that
minister, yeah.
minister, right? Okay, so how long have you been a minister, and did that come up with veganism, or is that separate? How does that
No,
tie in?
yeah. So it came up while I was living in Florida. And as soon as I got here, 16 years. So I've been doing it for over 16 years. And I do weddings, quinceañeras, pet memorials. And here in Albuquerque, I've been fortunate enough to have been asked to host the National Animal Rights Day here twice. And this year we were back in person again in June. So it was awesome. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, tying all that together, I don't think you can leave. I don't think that you can leave spirituality out of veganism.
I don't think so either. I think that what happened is when I decided to go vegan and I made the connection with the animals, I thought all this time that I've been a good person, always trying to help, always, standing for protests for human rights and things like that. And I loved animals, but I still didn't make the connection between my dog and the packages that you bring in from the food store. And finally, my friend Michael came to visit me from Oregon, and I said, "Well, I'm vegetarian, so what's the difference about vegan?" And so he explained it to me, and then right then and there, I went vegan. And I thought, I never want to cause harm to any living creature, whether human or non human. And it just felt like, if this is the way that you want to live and you want to align with your ethics, then you need to be vegan, because there is no other way to achieve that. There's just no other way.
Right. And when you went vegan, tell me about how did your family feel about that? Your friends did. I mean, how did you go about telling them, and what were their reaction?
Well, everyone was kind of supportive. I mean, they thought, oh, okay, well, I guess they had the same kind of um, feedback to me that I had to Michael. See, I had gone to a college with Michael way back when in the 70s, and he was vegan then. And he would say, "Oh, let's meet for lunch." And I'm like, "Okay, you bring your food, I'll bring my food, because, I'm not a rabbit. You eat your stuff, I'll eat mine." So I kind of like that, except, my sister was more on board. And my brother, he'll go while I'm there. They'll do vegan, but he's not vegan. And the same with my daughter and things like that. But they're kind of respectful of what I chose. I wish that they would join me for obvious reasons, but at some point maybe they will. It's unfortunately, we can't make people do what we want them to do, and that's okay, because Michael wanted me to do it back in the 70s and I didn't, so it took me a long time. And you got to give everyone the space to be able to come to it, to understand it, because that's what happened with me. I never did make the connection. Love animals, yeah, save the dolphins, save the whales, and all of this, and yet still eating the hamburger, still, having chicken. And the funny thing is, Mariquita, is that, when I contemplate about this all the time, because I was so upset at first that I hadn't gotten the message way back when. And then as I start to think about it, I thought, during the course of my life, I've had these little things, like these little darts that say, "Do you really want to do that?" kind of a thing. And I didn't realize it until just lately. Like when I'd be cooking and I have to cut up the chicken, I'd be like, "This is gross," and this is, and pulling the skin, or you come with the veins, and all the time while I'm doing this, I'm like making these faces and thinking this is gross. So inside me, deep inside, I knew this was wrong. And yet, I didn't make that connection then. Same thing when I was a younger child. I was really like in fourth grade. I was pretty young. I was living out in Puerto Rico, and with my grandfather. And one day he said, "Oh, why don't you go and get me a chicken from down the street, wherever?" So I went. Um, my grandfather kept chickens for the eggs. And I went down to the guy and I told him I needed, I tried to pick the cutest chicken, not knowing
Oh,
what was going on. And so I brought back the chicken and I gave it to my grandfather. And right then and there, he took the chicken and he took it by the neck, and he just basically he broke his neck, and the chicken was jumping up and down with his head hanging down. And that really traumatized me. And at that time I was 10 years old, whatever, and I wouldn't eat chicken, because I saw what happened, and pretty upset that I went and give me the cutest chicken, not knowing what its fate was going to be, you know? And so when I think about it, during the course of my lifetime, I've come across situations where I know this is wrong. And yet, still, because we're so conditioned to not think of that package that you bring home from the grocery store, that it was a living being who wanted to live.
Yeah, you're right. And I know that I'm sure that, with my parents, I'm sure that was just natural, that kind of killing, it's something that I'm sure it's traumatizing, but luckily as a child, you held on to that, where you weren't hardened by that, as so many children are, and where they can go and do it themselves. So that's a blessing. Well, how did you come to forgive yourself? And, if you had feelings of why did I do that, or how would you recommend if someone was struggling, with forgiving themselves?
Right. And that's why I call this my amends. I try to do whatever I can to advocate for veganism as my amends to the animals and for all the suffering that I caused them in all those years. And you have to realize that, again, we've been conditioned. Your family has been conditioned. Their family has been conditioned. So there's really no blame to place on them. This is just the way life has always been, right? For them during the course of years. And so I was really, really sad. And I'm sad all the time when I think about the animals. Like right now, I know that there are animals dying, and it breaks my heart. And if I should think about that or stay on that too long, I'll just be depressed all the time and crying. So what I find is that the best thing I could do is to make amends by, I publish this magazine where people give me articles on all different types of vegan topics, journeys, recipes, things that we need to work on. Then my vegan pulse, which I was so happy that you were on my vegan pulse, sharing what everyone else is doing and how we are all different people, different genders, different ages, different races, different religions, and it doesn't matter. This is not a weird cult. This is awakening of people from everywhere to the reality that we've been so conditioned, and that we're taking back our power of compassion that was stripped from us, or desensitized us, that we didn't even think about that. So I think that by trying to, sign petitions, go to protests, whatever you can do, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be one of those that are out there rescuing animals from animal agriculture farm or anything like that. Support other vegans who are doing more of that work. It takes a lot more courage, and it takes a lot more of one person to be able to do that. The undercover workers who film that. I mean, it has to be devastating. As a matter of fact, 2 days ago, I was on the computer, and there was this little video clip, and I didn't really exactly know what I had come upon, but it was these three pigs in this pen, outside pen, and then this man was walking towards the fence, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. And then he takes out a gun and he shoots the pig in the head. The pig came with kindness and compassion. He probably wanted to go, and I was just crying the rest of the afternoon. I'm still trying to get over what I saw, because he shot him right there and the pig went down, and the pig was trying to be a caring soul, coming, thinking nothing violent was going to happen to him, and then he was down. And I mean, the last couple of days I've just been trying to get that out of my head, because it's just how people can know that these animals are living, breathing beings who experience joy, sorrow, and fear. and can think nothing of putting a bullet on their head or abusing them in some way or another. It is beyond me how this is possible, how much cold-heartedness there is in this world, and we need to change that. And that's the vegan message.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we've really separated ourselves from some. I mean, again, here we've got the pets, the cats and the dogs, and they deserve peace and happiness. And but these other animals, they don't deserve it. How when did we become like this? How did we become so hardened like this? And it's insane. I mean, because when there's so many people that really care about animals, I mean, they're out there rescuing, out there helping animals, stray animals. We've just disconnected with all living beings, and I mean the humanity of the earth and of the planet. We've disconnected from. I mean, the way that we trash our planet, the way we're destroying everything. It's sickening. It's very hard, and I don't know how you. I mean, watching that poor pig, and oh, I just try to focus on that pig. Definitely, his spirit, or her spirit is up here in peace. Thank God. You know, that's all I can think is that because it's. I mean, horrible. And what about the person that does that? I mean, how shut down are they to their own emotions? I mean, that would be a horrible life. I'd rather feel all this great emotion and compassion towards others than to be shut off and cold, because if you're shut off and cold, what kind of relationships do you have with others?
And exactly, and you look around and you think, how come there's so much violence in the world right now, and how come there's so much, you know even people taking their own lives, right? Because everything is so disconnected, and everything is so like, we don't have that kindness, that compassion anymore, and we take it away from the kids first by separating the animals from them, right? Because the kid, when they see an animal, they want to hug it, they want to kiss it. They're thinking, oh, how cute, can I have it as a pet? As opposed to, oh, that's going to feel good on my sandwich, right? They're not going to say that. They're not even thinking that. And so one thing that I find when I'm talking to people is that people are just so far off on the emotions and the kindness, or even knowing their own emotions, right? Like myself, like I was saying before, I was cutting the chicken and thinking, this is gross, this is whatever, but yet here I was still, cooking the chicken and whatever, or when my grandfather did that. And I think that we question ourselves sometimes when we shouldn't, because in my heart I knew that was wrong, and yet it still happened, right? So now when you were talking about the humane society that was saying let's save the animals, they really mean dogs and cats, and then they're eating chicken and cow. Now what I do personally, and I would encourage everyone, if somebody sends me if the Heart Association sends me, oh, can you give whatever, I write them back, what's your stand on veganism? Are you promoting veganism? And if they're not, I'm not interested in supporting that. Diabetes, one time I called one of the local diabetes, and I said, are you supporting plant-based eating? And they weren't. And I'm like, and even on Facebook or media, when I see someplace like the Humane Society or something, uh, whichever was, it was probably a local shelter that was doing that, trying to raise money for the animals, I will write, on their comments, whatever, are you serving vegan food? I'm not posting anything bad. I'm just asking the question, are you serving vegan food? Because
That's
if you're
wonderful.
supposed to be promoting, the health of these animals and rescuing these animals, then you need to walk the talk. If you can't walk the talk, then I'm not really interested in supporting what you're trying to sell me. And when you're asked for money, and I think if enough people spoke up, perhaps they would make a change. But if you're having a luncheon and you're talking about diabetes, cancer, heart disease, and you're serving animals, then you're definitely not really walking your talk, because those are things that lead to diabetes, cancer, and heart disease. And so what are you saying? Mixed messages, and like you said, they don't even get it. So maybe it's up to us to explain it to them and say, hey, this is the reason why. I know that just recently, because right before all the elections, I wrote all the people that are in my district, my legislators, representative, and whatever. And I said, here's what I'm interested in. And this is what I'm looking for, a person who can support this, because, and then I gave them like some sites to see and whatever. And I said, because I believe that especially these individuals who are supposedly working for the people need to promote veganism. They need to promote whole food, plant-based diet. Okay. And not worry that they piss off somebody that, is connected to the dairy or the beef, because ultimately, if everybody dies, nobody's going to spend money, right?
Right, right.
So, we need people like Cory Booker, Eric Adams, in New York, who's doing such a fantastic job about bringing health education to hospitals. And not only that, but I believe now that the first choice in New York is vegan, whole food, plant-based diet. If somebody wants to ask for, an animal product, they can, but the go-to is the whole food, plant-based diet. And that's the way it should be everywhere. And the people who do that, I think, are champions for the people. The others are not.
Yes, you're right. It's very exciting. I just listened to on Victoria Moran's Main Street Vegan podcast, her interview with Eric. Is that right, Eric?
Eric Adams.
Adam. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam. So for a second, I thought I was saying it. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing how in 3 weeks his blind sight, reversed, and his mother, who was on pills for so long, I mean, she was able to, I mean, her health, I mean, my gosh, it's not a miracle, but it's a tremendous blessing how the turnaround, yeah. So, and that it's all being hidden. I mean, but thank God for people like him. Those are superstars, right? That are willing to come out and step up to make changes in legislation, right? And then I think about Dr. Milton Mills, who talks about, I mean, about the minorities, and then the lactose intolerance, and then you have to get a doctor's note, to have a different kind of milk. I mean, it is racism, or whatever you call it, food injustice, right? To do that, discrimination, to do this to people, and we're poisoning people with this, with all the junk that's in the milk. Oh my gosh, the hormones and they're like, I mean, when are we supposed to be? I mean, how are we supposed to grow to 3,000 pounds? I mean, that's just outrageous. Sometimes I ask my friends, well, would you rather have milk from a cow or from a chimp? And they think, gross. What do you mean a chimp? I said, well, a chimp is more like you than a cow,
Very good. Very good. Exactly. Exactly. I used to be a big milk eater. You know how people say, oh, I can't live without cheese? I can't live without milk. And the funny part about it is that I was like at the 2% milk, because it upset my stomach, right?
Oh,
Because if you recall back 70s, 80s, right? Milk does your body good. No, it does not. And so I even did one of those little
milk
one of
mustache.
those milk commercials. Milk does the body good. I mean, I was so addicted to milk, but that's why, because it is addictive. The chemicals that are in it make you want it, yearn it, and so it was. So that was one of my hardest things, but I just kept trying one milk after the other: flax, rice, soy, pea, all of them. And soy and pea are my favorite now. um, but it's just, in your mind, and habits are so ingrained that when I first went vegan, right, you're used to your plate as a non-vegan, or for my plate, it was rice, beans, let's say, and then some meat, right? Some animal flesh. And so when I went vegan, I was okay. I got vegetables, I got, potatoes, and but what am I going to put in for the animal flesh? It was like, you don't need it, and as time went on, during these years, it's been a great learning experience as to the human conditioning by family, colleagues, society, and how we don't even see it. And how, I couldn't have, for example, somebody would say, oh, I had pizza for breakfast. But pizza, that's only for lunch. You can't have that, or waffles for dinner. And I'm like, waffles for dinner? That's only for breakfast. It's like you get so that you can't break out of the box. I'm just, and this is the way it was for me. And I come to realize, oh my gosh, even I'm still finding little things here and then and there where I was conditioned, and now I recognize it and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that it goes so deep into a person. And that's why people have a hard time trying to say, I can't do it.
Yeah,
Which,
they don't even know where to start. You're right. I mean, it seems so foreign. Like, what do you mean? This is the way I've been brought up for years. What am I going to eat now? Right. And then what are my friends going to think about me? How am I going to be able to go to family dinners or go out to, I'm not going to be able to go get wings anymore with my buddies, and that's a whole nother thing about like kind of like the masculinity that Jeff Palmer's really trying to work on, I mean, and to disprove this crap that that meat is masculine, that's drilled into little boys' heads. I was reading the China study and talking about someone who had written an article about, about veganism or eating plants as they were feminine and weak and all ridiculous stuff. And I thought immediately of Jeff Palmer, who is, I mean, obviously not like that at all. And there's so many great athletes. And I love the athletes that are stepping up for the plant based diet. They really are the examples. So, and well, I'm just grateful for them. I mean, to dispel these myths that we're believing about that meat is masculine and we can't live without it.
yeah. And so like you said, the athletes, right? Because while all these years since I went vegan, every chance I get, what was that you wanted to know about veganism? I can tell you, just any opportunity that I could get. That's what I had been doing, especially in the beginning. It was like, I was just like, I got to get out there. I got to let people know. But one of the reasons why was, even though I went vegan for the animals, a month after I went vegan, I no longer had migraines, bursitis, joint swelling, and the biggest one, fibromyalgia. I suffered for so many years in so much pain, and never did it occur to me, or did any doctor or anyone tell me, why don't you try a whole food plant-based diet and see how that works for you?
Wow.
I mean, it was just,
That's amazing. That's exciting.
and when I did that, I'm like, you know how many people I know who are suffering right now? And as I read more and researched more, that I could help. So then I was, okay, the opportunity came to do a cooking with compassion at Natural Grocers. The manager there at that time asked me if I would be interested. And I said, sure. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just knew, if you want me to do something about veganism, yes, I'll figure it out. I'll just figure it out, kind of a thing. And when people say, oh, I can't have soy, well, there's other things to have, right? But then if you can't have soy, I would suggest you stop eating animal flesh, because that's what they fed. So you're having soy. So, flash news, okay? Or when somebody says, oh, I can't eat processed food. Uh, Animal flesh can't get more processed than that, because it's not the right color, not the right smell, not the right anything. So again, flash news. Um, wake up.
That's funny. So when did you start your cooking classes?
I think that in 2016, I had the first Red and Green Veg Fest here at the Convention Center, Albuquerque Convention Center. And I believe the second year, because I was saying, Natural Grocers, can you give me something to give away? Blah, blah. And so I got to be friends with Twyla, who was manager at that time. And she just came up to me one day. I was shopping there. She goes, hey. And so I said, ah. So about 2017, like a year after, like right 2017, 2018, I started. So they've been going on for a while.
Wonderful. So is it always vegans or people that are vegan curious? Who comes to
Oh, yeah.
classes?
So I probably have maybe two two vegans, maybe two vegetarians, and the rest are people who want to transition. And that's what makes it great, is because these individuals don't know where to turn for information, and they'll come, oh, I heard about this class, because no doctors are telling you. And then I say, and then I was they had a peapod here one time in Albuquerque, those conventions that they do for the health professionals, dietitians, doctors, talking about reversing diseases with plant-based foods. And this lady came to my table and she said, oh, I would be vegan, but my doctor said I got to eat meat because I got diabetes.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, okay, I'm not a doctor, but I would change my doctor and find a different doctor. Because that's one of the worst things you could do.
I know it's sickening. My friend who passed away years ago in her 30s had Crohn's disease. And I wish I knew what I know now because she loved to go to the steak houses and eat meat. And she would be just in tremendous pain in the bathroom, and we would go to Juarez and try to get pain medicine for her because she wanted to do anything to stay out of the hospital. And I wish, oh my gosh, I hate that she passed at such a young age and she never was, I mean, for years she was debilitated. She couldn't work and she was full of life. She loved being around people, loved working, and to see her and to think if I only knew, if I knew then what I knew now. No, now I wish, things could have been different for her.
Yeah. um, it's just, doing the vegan pulse, as you know, because you do this podcast, that you meet interesting people with stories that are amazing. Um, you have Linda Middlesworth, who conquered cancer, right? And Jeff, he had addictions, he had depression, and look at him now. He's awesome. And so you meet all these people, and just recently, Harold Brown, who was one of the, I think he was the subject of that documentary Peaceful Kingdom. And he was a rancher, family business. um, and he talked about how he was raised and indoctrinated into the family business. And when you hear these stories, and how he had to deal with this, he had to be, he at times had to lie to his dad. Like he said, one time his dad took him and his brother hunting, and they were hunting out deer. And this deer came up to where he was, and he just looked at it, and he thought, what an amazing, beautiful animal. And he didn't shoot it, he didn't kill it, and whatever. And at the end of the little outing, the brother and the dad came up to him and said, hey, how come we saw the buck come right up to you? Why did? And he said, well, oh, I must have fell asleep. And the reason why he used that excuse is because when they've been hunting before, his dad, I guess, while waiting on time to time, from time to time, would fall asleep. So he figured he'd use that excuse. Oh, I must have fell asleep. He just didn't want to kill the deer. And then, so you hear this story, and then he had heart disease problems, and that's how he started to come into veganism and stuff like that. And then he didn't want anything to do with being a rancher. And he's like, when his dad passed or whatever, he like, no, he didn't want to do that. So you hear these stories about people, whether it is a disease, whether it is they had some sort of awakening. But, even back then, I said to him, so even back then, you knew deep down inside that it was wrong to kill that poor animal, right? And it's just like you really know inside because is your true self. And so when you hear these people and you get to meet all these people from all over the world with these amazing stories, I mean, I just find it so inspirational and so heartwarming. And it's just great to know that there's vegans everywhere.
I know that's what's very important is once we realize that we don't have to be so sad. I mean, sure, we're going to feel sad, right? But we don't have to be stuck because we realize that everybody's really working for the cause, that we have friends, we make connections, and we're not isolating. That's when it's the worst, when we isolate ourselves, and you're right about interviewing and featuring these wonderful guests. I mean, I've listened to a lot of live streams and listening to ranchers that have worked so hard to change, and then they're helping other ranchers learn how to use that land, um, probably that's been depleted by the factory farming, but maybe turning it into greenhouses or some other ways to make money to help these ranchers that are trapped in these cycles that perhaps don't want to be doing it and they know no other way out. To realize there's many victims in this animal agriculture market, not just the animals. But yeah, I mean, that's trauma. I can't even imagine being a rancher and knowing what's going on every single. How would you sleep at night? Now, again, you'd have to shut down your emotions, but that kills your soul. If you shut down your emotions, what kind of, I mean, you're living in a emptiness, and that's no life. I mean, so how can we help these ranchers? How can we help these people without attacking them, but by offering a hand? Let me help you where this whole food plant based business is going to be more profitable for you emotionally and financially, right? How can we come together to help them? And do you know some that are doing that, Nancy?
I do. I think Rowdy Girl,
Yeah, Rowdy Girl.
she has a program, Ranters Transitions program. I think it's called a farmation, something like that. I would have to look it up, but it helps ranchers transition. And I think that one of the things that we could do is to any chance we get is to support these individuals who are transitioning because they are trying to get out of that and to spread that word, to share it. One of the things I always say is please share, 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 because we're our own media. The newspaper, they're not going to do an article about the benefits of veganism over and over. I mean, every once in a while you get something that happened that maybe they'll put in a little clip about, but we are our own media. And thank goodness for social media. I know some people don't like it, but thank goodness for social media because I believe that that's what's gotten us this far, is because we could talk to each other, we could connect with each other, and we could try to, how do you call it, weed out the lies from the conditioning that we've had and the truths. Um, and I think that the government, instead of funding the animal agriculture, the dairy and the meat industry, that they should be funding transitioning these animal agriculture people, the farmers, into something else. If they had, helping Rowdy Girl and transformation, that's the name of it. Transformation is
Oh,
one of her group that helps ranchers get out of that business into something else that's still profitable, right? Because we're not saying we don't want you to have a livelihood. We're just saying get a livelihood that is, not violence and not something that hurts the planet. Like you were saying before, it's not just the animals, it hurts the planets, the animals, the people. It's racist, it's unhealthy, And we just need to keep telling that to the legislators, to the representatives. So every time you get a chance to um, sign a petition, you get a chance to have a voice. And most importantly, if you have $1 in your pocket and you go to the store and you buy something that has animal flesh or animal product, then you're voting for that to continue. So let's not take our money and give it to the stores for products that have animal flesh or animal products. Because if we stop buying it, then they'll stop buying it and say, hey, our people who come here, they're not buying that stuff. And that will help create the change. But if we keep doing it, or if we don't speak up, if we stay silent, that's how oppression continues, right? When you don't speak up, when you stay silent, you don't want to see something, say something. That's what I say.
All right. Well, I just realized I'm going to ask for a lot of vegan clothes because I know that Linda Middlesworth is always wearing her vegan shirts and stuff, and she gets a lot of people commenting, and so I thought I need to get more vegan clothes. And also I know that I'm carrying around my Main Street Vegan because I went to Main Street Vegan Academy, which was wonderful with Victoria Moran in October, and so I was carrying my book around reading it, and then people were asking me about it. They wanted to know, and that was so exciting. And I was at the doctor's, and the young guy asked me there, and I saw that they had ordered all this fast food junk. And, ugh. But anyway, he acknowledged the benefits of a plant-based diet, which was wonderful. And I was sad, of course, to look around the office of the doctor and not see anything about foods, anything about healthy eating. But instead, of course, there are all these signs for the drugs. Take this miracle pill. Now you can add this one and add this one. It's like, my gosh. But it was wonderful to have my book and to have that one connection with that little guy who told me that, yes, that's right. It's true. And then I left and I said, I'm leaving with a good, with all A's. And it's because of this. Right?
Yep. And I wear my when I go out, I wear my vegan shirts. Especially, I still wear my mask, right? Because there's people out there, and they don't really. Some are not considerate of how it might affect others. Some people are okay, some people are not. So anyway, I wear my mask, and my masks all have a vegan message. So I get people go, oh, can I see what that says? Or, oh. And then, the other days I was standing in line for some food, and somebody was telling me, hey, you can have this. We were at a fundraiser at La Salita for one of the sanctuaries here, and another group, nonprofit group here. And I was standing in line, and the lady behind me goes, well, you don't have to have it vegan. You could have it the regular way. And I'm like, I don't do cruelty, so I have to have it vegan. And she goes, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, I'm a vegan. I don't eat any animal products. So she was looking up at the menu, and on it, it said 2 just eggs rancheros, right? And she goes, well, can I ask you a question? And I said, okay. She says, well, how come it says 2 just eggs? Aren't eggs vegan? Aren't eggs not vegan? And I'm like, right. But the name of the vegan substitute is called Just Eggs. So I was like, she goes, oh. And I've also gone around where I see people, and I'll hear somebody talking about eating healthier, and I'll go, hey, I have this magazine. Do you want to take a look at it? Or I have this book. Would you like it? And, and they'll take it. And so I'm always carrying stuff and just leaving stuff all around, because if they don't know, if they don't see it, they don't know and they don't see it. So again, we need to be the ones promoting it any way that we can, wherever we can, all the time.
Definitely, you're right. And well, tell me about the Red and Green Vegfest.
The Red and Green Vegfest. Well, oh, I love the Red and Green Vegfest. It was I'm an event coordinator by trade. So when I went vegan, I thought, what can I do? And I started the publications, and then the Vegfest. And I thought, what a great idea. Bring people in so that they could meet each other, network, support, know that there are other people here who are following the same path as they are. And so we started with doing that, and met some wonderful people throughout the years. This will be our 8th year coming up in 2023. People who donated their time and their expense to be here, because I was funding it myself personally for 6 years. So it was quite a thing to do, and so I was so appreciative of people who came. I mean, we had Carolyn Trapp from Physicians for Committee on Responsible Medicine. We had um, some Jean Christian Jury from Germany. We had Kiona Broden from the Midwest who came up for it. And we've had all these other Sergeant Vegan, Joan Kahn. She came up amongst Tom Linney from Animal League Defense Fund. So we had some great people who have shown support because they thought it was important to get it off the ground. And I am so happy that this past year and this coming year, that we were granted a grant from the city of Albuquerque for this 2023 Red and Green Vegfest that is coming up. So I'm looking so forward to that, because we're actually going to be able to do public advertisement, which is usually it's just been word of mouth, trying to put up flyers everywhere. And we'll have a little money to be able to do that this time. So, and bring in a speaker and actually be able to maybe share with some of the expenses with them. So, and I'm so looking forward to it. And we have lots of more vegan food trucks here in New Mexico. So Route 66, El Veganito, Vagos. So we have an increase of vegan food coming in, so that they could now come into the Veg Fest. Because I have to tell you, the first Veg Fest, it was with the convention center, and I was like getting recipes from Forks Over Knife, and meeting with the chef over there, trying to get him to do something vegan because they didn't know how to do it. And so, but I thought it was great, because I thought, well, it's an educating moment, right? Helping someone learn more. So I always try to see the upside to everything.
Right. Well, definitely. That's wonderful. And I want to come. Is it in August, did you say?
It'll be August 20th, 19th, sorry, Saturday, August 19th.
August 9th. Well, I'm going to make it out there one year. I know I will. I love Albuquerque. I missed it. I used to go to that Annapurna. Is that right?
Still here, Annapurna.
Yeah, I loved going there. And when I was living there, I did a lot of I was fostering dogs there. So yeah, I spent a lot of time doing that. And I mean, I was always volunteering in different areas, but that was my main thing with Watermelon Mountain Ranch.
Yep, still there.
Yeah, still there, huh? Yeah. And but I love that place. So
yeah, I'm a failed foster.
Are you? I can believe it.
I fostered one when my Arwen passed away. I said, okay, I waited a while because I just couldn't get another dog, because there is no replacing them. There's just adding more family to your household, in my view. So I thought, okay, I'll foster. My sister was fostering out in New York, so I said, okay, I'll foster. Then another dog came up. Okay, I'll foster him until. So they've been here now. They're my babies, Piper and Max. And so I'm a failed foster. I can't foster because then they become part of the family and they stay here.
I know what you mean. I fostered a lot of puppies. So I knew that, well, puppies will make you go crazy. They were fun though. I remember, I played with a lot of puppies, and then one time I had greyhound puppies, and they were the calmest puppies I've ever seen. They were just sitting all quietly in the yard and kind of taking it all in. I thought, these aren't puppies, but they were precious. There were great things about Albuquerque, and I'm excited, that you're really such a big part of the movement there. And what about Santa Fe? How are they, in the vegan scene there?
They have a good vegan scene. We have some good groups here in New Mexico. We have Santa Fe Vegan, the Albuquerque Veg Group as well, and we also have some sanctuaries. So they're promoting um, for veganism and doing events. So that's great because you get to go and meet the animals. We have Misfits of Oz here, and then we have my friend Tamara, who has Sanctuary the Karuna, and she has a great story about how she started her sanctuary. But she does events there with the kids and with families about meeting the animals, the individuals. Um, so I think that that's a great program that she does. Again, Albuquerque Veg Group, run by Lisa here, which they do pop-ups, they do meetups, they go hiking, they do lots of things. So we have a good group, and getting larger and larger, which is great. Um, and so there are lots of opportunities to help promote veganism. As I said, it's really easy from your home. You don't have to leave your home. Computer, petitions, sign, send letters, email, make phone calls. These pop-ups when they have, and the nonprofits that are there that need help tabling, you could just volunteer. You can volunteer for the Red and Green Veg Fest. That'd be great, or Sprouting Compassion as well, to help when we go out to events. So there's so many things that people can do, and it's really fun when you think about it, because you get to meet other people, right? And building community, because it's really, you had touched on it before, how important it is to have people that are like you in mind, that they are able to support and know what you're talking about, without somebody shouting out a dumb bacon joke or something like that, right? So and this is how you do it, by volunteering. You meet people, whether it's at event or at a sanctuary. You get involved, or even on the Facebook pages and groups, or podcasts like this. You can do so many things.
Yeah, and that's true. And a lot of people say, "Well, there's nothing in my town." Well, that's an invitation for you to start something, because I bet there's a lot of people out there saying, "Well, there's nothing in my town." And so, yeah, for you to take action. There's Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for watching. She's a plant-based, whole food plant-based marketer. She loves. I mean, I know she does raw, and yeah, she's in Jamaica, really supporting the plant-based people there. So it's lovely when we can. We're all over. Yep, very like-minded. She's very, very. Stephanie's very, very compassionate and very. I mean, her spirit is very lovely. Acceptance of all, and that's what I think veganism is: accepting of all, of everyone, right? And tell me about the kids' books. How do those? How
So
Tell me.
I had written a kids book. Um, I started by writing, like, for years. I was trying to work on this kid book, like 20 years. I just kept saying, and it had to do with girls, right? Because girls just don't, when I was growing up, girls just do home things. Um, and I was very different and always in trouble because my mindset did not say girls do not stay home and girls can't do anything. Girls can do anything that boys can do. And that was my mindset, and which got me into a lot of trouble and banned from places, because I was like, nope, you're wrong. I could do it too, And so I started with this one book, Nanchi, and then so I took my first three letters and my daughter's first three letters, so it's NAN and CHI, and made it the name of the character. And it was just about a little girl being compassionate. And then my grandson, 10 years ago or so, he was born, so I made a book for him called Sharudman. And it had to do with, again, my daughter's last name, or her husband's last name, was the name of the frog who was called Sharudman.
Oh,
And then and it was what my daughter had for her theme. His theme for his baby shower was frogs and Rabin, Sharutman and Rabin. So I made a monkey. It was a monkey and a frog. And so I made that book. And then when I became vegan, I'm like, oh wait a minute. So I could. There's plenty of kids that don't even know what veganism is or want to explain it. So I made, well, what does vegan mean? And it was a sister and a brother. The sister, older sister, telling the little brother why they were vegan and what it was all about. And then it just kind of kept on, like with the vegan activist paper dolls. I was like, when I was a kid, I used to have paper dolls and I used to play with them all the time. And I'm like, and it could be a educating tool on how to be an activist for kids, because kids have voices and kids can be powerful. They might think that they're not, but take a look at Greta, right, who used to sit in
mhm.
front of her school by herself with a sign about climate change. But there's this other young man, Justin Ponce, who had laws come through in Florida for animals. So you can't, or Ethan, that young boy who goes around as well. And what's I'm thinking of this other young girl, and her name is on the tip of my tongue. Butler, is it Genesis Butler?
Oh, I
Uh,
saw her. Yeah.
and they have great um, appeal. They have great intuitive um, words that they can express what they're talking about. And when you listen to them, it's just amazing. And so I thought maybe helping kids in school is a great way to start, because that's where maybe we could cut some of that disconnect that's happening if we get them younger, and get them to know that they have power, and they should have power, and they should have a voice. This is a world that's going to be for them. So they should know what's going on and how people are messing up their world and demand that we get it straight. And so I wanted to give voice for that. And so it's just been one thing out of the other. And I just published my latest book, AB Compassion, which is, it goes through A, B, C to Z with a vegan message in it as well. So I'm glad about that. So it just published this week. So I love doing them. Mariquita, I think you're a little frozen on my side. Okay. I don't know if I'm all on my own or I'm out, but it says I'm in the show. So I'm just going to keep on saying something, I guess, until I get some sort of feedback that we're here or not here. So I'm very happy to help people who want to transition to veganism. And that is the reason why I do the things I do, like the cooking demos and the Red and Green Veg Fest, and to try to bring in speakers here to Albuquerque through my Sprouting Compassion nonprofit organization. And anyone could reach out to me at Nancy at sproutingcompassion.org, or just on Facebook or anywhere. Type in Nancy Arenas, New Mexico, and all my endeavors should pop up. And anything I could do to help you along your way to veganism, I'm more than happy to do.
Okay. Well, I guess we had some issues. Unfortunately, some people are working outside and it's causing problems. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I think uh, I'm so sorry, but Nancy is amazing, and we're gonna give all of her information, post it here, and please connect with us. Both of us, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for watching and listening to her amazing, powerful stories. And she's really taking action in Albuquerque for us. So if you go to Albuquerque, you've got to look her up. Look her up online. I know she's on LinkedIn, on Facebook. She has got the YouTube, her podcast, which will put the links for all this up. And thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thank you for this sweet comment. So I'm not sure if Nancy has an Instagram. I have an Instagram. So, yes, I also have a YouTube channel. So, like I said, please subscribe. And thank you so much for being patient with me. Have a blessed day.